Now, we move on. We've got ourselves the round 9 and 10 debrief for the Betfred Super League this time round. And we start off Castleford Tigers up against Hull FC. And it turned out to be yet another dominant Hull performance.
Yes, considering what the Castleford did the week prior, like they've been there or thereabouts, but the Hull was just way too good for them. Like, no, you wouldn't discount the Castleford against Hull, but it was pretty much.
But
always
their record against Hull is not good.
No, it's not.
Especially very recent, say over the last 4 years.
Yeah, and it's continued to show that now.
And it didn't start off that way, though. I mean, with the debutant, 17-year-old Jason Gary.
Yes, what a good way to make your debut.
40 seconds in, that's a good way to settle the nerves.
It definitely was. And to get a try on debut, which is always good to think, but unfortunately, it wasn't quite a victory.
The left edge of Hull FC just took charge after that. Just Marty Fanua was causing trouble, and then pinpoint kicks from Sneed to Jake Cott. That helps out Marty Fanua. Hull just ran in.
And then you had Adam Swift with the double, so Hull was just in complete control of the match.
And Jake Cotter was just... how unbelievable was Jake Cotter? Just 1 try, 2 try assists, both for Swift and for Fanua, 101 running meters, 4 tackle breaks, and he kicks a 40-20.
Yes. Like, he's just gone to next level. He's getting better and better week in, week out. So soon he'll be one of the best.
He's very good. It's unbelievable watching him doing the things he can do. With 40-20s, kick goals, which is a blessing, especially considering Mark Sneed was sin-binned with about 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, like even the combination with Jake Connor and Mark Sneed, it's going really well this year, and hopefully they can keep that combination going into the next season. And for the rest of this season, I should add.
As for Castleford, they just couldn't ground out the whole defence. They only got 1 try early on, good left side shift, but then it took them practically the rest of the game for Oliver Holmes to try and slide in off Liam Watts running cross field. That's all Castleford were able to construct. I mean, and they were successful in going after Paul McShane, who was playing, I think, out of standoff off there. So they ultimately identified that Paul McShane would be a target with no Gareth O'Brien to partner Danny Richardson, I think, in the halves, and I think there was no Jake Truman either.
No. But I don't know, maybe that might just unsettle them a little bit and maybe put them off a bit for this week. But all whole, just too good, or a combination of both.
Mate,
So.
I definitely agree that they were just on another level, Hull FC.
Yeah. Well, they could be in with a chance of making the final this year, but who knows? Anything can happen between now and then. Momentum might change.
I mean, there's still 15 rounds left to play, and I think it's still a 25-round season, I think.
But momentum can change.
Hull
quick.
are in a better position now than they were, I don't know.
Earlier on in the season?
No, not earlier on. I was going to say early on last year.
Yeah, you could say that, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think they've changed some things up, because you got to remember, they just squeaked into when the top 6 were announced. They squeaked in there, then they made it to the semi-finals, got down trialist by Wigan, and then here they are now, and they're still hanging on, hovering around that top 6, so they just need to stay there, and I think they'll do all right.
Yep, which I believe they can do that with the rate they're going, especially with the Connor Sneed combination going on, and the rate that Swift and Fanua have been scoring as of late. Well, they've got it kind of down packed, so
yep.
Who knows?
Now, moving on, there was no action from the Huddersfield Giants or the Wigan Warriors, nor was there action from Leeds and St Helens, because both of their matches were postponed due to coronavirus positive cases within the squads. The action that we did get on Saturday morning was Warrington downing Wakefield Trinity 38-18.
Which we kind of knew was going to happen, even though Wakefield has had a good run of form. Coming against Warrington, it was kind of going to be a given, but Wakefield kind of were there, but not.
The Warrington right edge, defensively, we've said it's frail in the past, but their right edge attack was shining today on this game. And Josh Charnley bagging a hat-trick, Blake Austin and Gareth Woodham getting in there. because we've noted Warrington tends to attack more left because, I mean, they had King, Lynham, Curry, and Winnett ball out on the left, but they bring it over to the right, and Wakefield just couldn't handle it.
No, they couldn't. And like as we know, Wakefield are in the bottom and Warrington are up near the top, so it's kind of a bit of a difference. But getting 18 points on the board is better than having none. So.
No, of course. Well, that's absolutely true. And the soft defence, I think Steve Price will be upset with the way David Fafita scored that try.
Yeah,
Just crashing over for close range. No real opposition to that.
No, there wasn't at all. And it was just... Well, David Fafita is a strong...
He's a big lad.
Yeah, so that was close to the line. You don't give him that much space. So that, like, proximity to the line, it was just an easy try for him. Well, not... Well, you know.
Yeah. At least Wakefield did have the last laugh with setting up Lee Kershaw all down the right-hand side.
Yeah, but it was too little too late by then. But still, making the margin less would help them maybe later on.
Less embarrassing.
They'll less embarrassing help them on later in the season. Come crunch time, you could say.
It definitely comes before crunch time there.
Gareth would have had yet another magnificent game.
He almost got jinxed into missing a goal.
He did, but he got it. But with his future up in the air, he's putting on performance and...
with all the talk that's going on with him, which has been occurring, especially in the Australian media, and all the talk about where George Williams might end up, with word suggesting he might actually end up at the Warrington Wolves in 2021.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. It's only a matter of, like, time will only tell.
It will.
Pretty much.
Excuse me.
You can't really put a finger on where he'll be going or anything, so it's just a time will tell situation there and what Whittaker ends up doing for 2022 and beyond.
Yeah. Now, we've got the other action from Friday. Hull College, Craven Park. The other side of Hull picking up victory. Hull Kingston Rovers 40 down in the Salford Red Devils 4.
Which was not a surprise at all considering how Salford have played out this season so far and how the Rovers are going this season. The Rovers just showed again how good they are this season.
Hull KR had a lot of running in them and there was a lot of long-range efforts going into that.
Yeah. There's no doubt about that. And so both sides of Hull are looking positive for this season.
Well, they're both in the top 6.
Yeah, so who knows? Hopefully they stay there.
Sean Kenny Dow. Sorry, just Sean Kenny Dow. He had a practical blinder. 1 try, 210 running meters, 3 offloads, 12 tackle breaks.
Yeah, that's a very, very good performance, especially like with 210 run meters. Like, I know he's a winner, but
he's a centre. He's playing centre for Tony Smith's side because he's got Ryan Hall on his outside, and then on the other side he's got Ben Crooks to contend with.
Yeah,
and now that Brad Takarangi's getting more game time, and that try he put on, in the first half
was unbelievable.
Where was the goal line defence from Morgan Escaray? Surely he would have been thinking. He saw the grubber kick. You either have to play at it or let it go dead. And letting it go dead is also difficult because if Takarangi chases through, there's a good chance he might score, and he did score.
Yeah, so that was just poor defence effort there, really.
It was poor defence from Salford all around, and their discipline didn't help either.
No, that's just been the story of the season so far for the Red Devils. Nothing's going their way at all, which is a shame because they do have the potential there.
I mean, they've shown it in patches. Salford have over last year and this year. They have shown what they are capable of,
but not consistent enough.
Yeah, not Saints standard, not a Warrington or a Wigan standard where they can do that week in, week out, and cling on to the top of the table.
Yeah,
and they are still lucky at the moment that they are just above the relegation zone.
Yeah, only thanks to Lee.
Richard Marshall really needs a good hard look at this side because what options does he have? I mean, I know Joe Burgess just played his first game in the centres for Salford.
Yeah,
in that game, but you look at the Salford spine: Escaray, Tuilaw here, Kevin Brown, and Andy Ackers, I think it was. You look at some of the other Salford, not Salford, but you look at some of the other top spines. They just perform of leagues better.
Well, you can't just go like you had to look at like St Helens' spine and Warrington spine and the top side spines in general.
Even Hull KR's spine, which we didn't consider to be that good, Hull KR's spine is performing exceptional at the moment.
They're beating all expectations.
Yeah, they're exceeding expectations. I wouldn't say overperforming, but they are definitely at a higher level.
They've got that right balance at the moment, and hopefully it stays that way for them. Back to what you were saying with like Hall, Kenny Dow, Takarani, and Crooks, they all scored a try. So both sides are very evenly matched especially in this match for the Rovers. So nothing can go wrong. Well, I shouldn't say that. Stuff can happen, but the rate they're going at the moment, it seems to be that nothing's going wrong.
It's sustained pressure. That's what it needs. And at the moment, Tony Smith and Brett Hodgson, representing both sides of the River Hull, they're doing all right.
They are. And hopefully they're still up there come season's end and for the playoffs. Because the playoffs could be very, very interesting if both sides of the river could be up there.
Well, it's 3v6 and 4v5, so it could possibly... Not saying it could happen, but there is the potential if somehow the top two sides get knocked out, that it could be both sides of Hull at Old Trafford in October.
Yeah, but as you said earlier...
It's a big if, though.
Yeah, and there's like 15 weeks to go, so it's still a long, long way to go.
And finally, we've got the Lee Centurions almost upstaging the Catalan Dragons, but Catalan coming home 36 points to 30.
So that's the second week in a row that the Centurions have come oh so close to winning. So they must be building on something, I believe. It's good to see, though, that they're starting to get more points on the board and they are getting into matches.
They were up, 18-6 at one stage?
Yeah.
And then within the space of 8 minutes, Catalan took charge.
Yeah.
And laid on about 5 tries after that.
Yeah. But it shows that the Centurions can give it to top teams like the Catalan Dragons who are currently on top.
They can stick it, but they can't stick it for the full 80.
Yeah. Like, you could say maybe the 70 minutes they stick it to. Or, I don't know if it, like...
it heavily depends. They're in the fight and then they're not. That's just the reality of league.
I think they, like, fade out near the end of the match. Well, somewhere in the middle of the match, but...
And I think this would have been, I think, either Kurt Haggerty's... No, this would have been Kurt Haggerty's second game in charge after the club removed John Duffy from the head coaching position.
Yes. And didn't have seemed to be turned around kind of all of a sudden, if you know what I was saying that.
Mm.
Like, they came close last week and the week before that just went. They were close again, so... Hopefully, they come to a win soon, because the Centurions fans have been suffering long enough.
Well, they've been happy that they're back in Super League, but they knew that you had to have, as a Leaf fan, you would have had to have understood that it was always going to be this tough. I mean, you think back, Toronto are, well, they're not barred as much as they're denied re-entry. Lee are one of at least 6 candidates that might be looking to get back in the Super League. You've got heavyweights in the Championship like Toulouse, London, Bradford's a smoky, as is Featherstone, and York City.
Yeah.
I mean, Lee get lucky. I think Lee were ultimately lucky that they beat out someone like London or Toulouse.
Exactly. And it's kind of, you could say, maybe a late.
It was definitely late.
It was late inclusion.
It was going to be a tough time for John Duffy to try and reassemble his side. I mean, most of it would have been intact, but try and bring in some extra NRL and Super League staunch to it.
Yeah.
To try and match it, even with a Wakefield or a Salford at this point.
Yeah.
And it just simply hasn't worked out.
No, it hasn't. And obviously cost him the job. Now they've got the interim coach, I believe, for the rest of the season. Or
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've got, in other words, if they're going to keep the interim coach for the rest of the season, they've got plenty of time to find a head coach for 2022.
I don't think they'll give Haggerty the flick. Derek Beaumont gets desperate enough, he might, unless he finds an experienced head coach, whether it's Brian McDermott, because apparently he's not head coach at Toronto Wolfpack anymore. It could be Ian Henderson, and they might get a run. Dennis Betts could still be looking for a job somewhere. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe even Tim Sheens. Maybe he comes in and tries to salvage something. I don't know.
Maybe. And Tim Sheens isn't a bad coach. Like, he's pretty good. Like,
he got Hull KR back in the Super League, so...
Yeah. Well, all the coaches you mentioned are good coaches. They just can't find us. There's not enough clubs to fit all the coaches. So, someone is going to miss out, but someone's going to also get their job. So, we have to wait and see on that one. It was a great performance yet again on Cat1. So, just
they got lucky.
Took control pretty much when Lee started to fade out, but it was good to see that Lee were up there.
Now, we move on. We are up to round 10 of the Betfred and Super League, and we start off the action with a West Yorkshire derby with the Wakefield Trinity side hosting the Casper Tigers. And we do have squad announcements, which is very rare because we never do get to announce these sides. Not many inclusions in the Casper side. But good news is Gareth O'Brien is included back in the side, as well as Niall Evalds. So both expect Evalds and O'Brien to get a start in Darryl Powell's side there. Other than that, I don't think there are many changes from the side that went down to Hull FC.
No, it looks pretty much the same as what it was last week. Well, with the inclusion of Niall Evalds and Gareth O'Brien, is a big boost for the Tigers. And that's what I might have missed last week when they went down. But coming against Wakefield, I wouldn't discount Wakefield either. Yes, they lost to Warrington, but Warrington are a top side. And I reckon Wakefield could maybe potentially go back to how they were when they won 2 or 3 in a row. 3 in a row.
Well, the form line, you look at the form line, Castleford have gone up against Hull Kingston Rovers, Warrington, Leeds, and Hull FC in the Eastern weeks. And of course, Wakefield down Hull KR, Huddersfield, and Lee before going up against Warrington in the last game. So you could say form is with Wakefield, but the quality of opposition, Castleford had the rougher time with it.
That's very, very true. So it could be a flip of a coin, but with the home crowd at the
Mobile Rocket Stadium.
Yeah, it should be in favour of Wakefield, but Castleford can bring something out of the bag.
I think there'll be a bounce-back performance for Castleford due. I think the left edge, they'll enjoy having Niall Evalds at the back and Paul McShane back in around the dummy half. I think he went missing when he was playing off at standoff, and Hull FC it's a defensive decision Darryl Powell will make.
Yeah,
because he knows his first choice dummy half got exposed big time by Hull's left edge. So he's going to be looking. He's going up against Tom Johnston. He's going up against Bill Tupou. He doesn't want to put his hooker back through that. So I would think McShane back at dummy half, and then maybe Adam Milner at loose forward or back on the bench. Jacques O'Neill, I don't know what happens with him.
So kind of more like a set starting 13, like to what has been for the majority of the season.
Yeah.
Overall, I'm going to say Wakefield will win 1-12.
I'm going to back Castleford 1-12. I think there'll be a bounce back performance in them.
Well, I feel the same as you back for Wakefield. There'll be a bounce back performance for them.
Now, there's a lot of interest around this match coming up on Friday Australian time. Saints versus Warrington in front of the Sky Sports cameras at the Totally Wicked Stadium.
Well, considering St. Helens has had, you could say, a week
An
off,
extended break.
An extended break, then will be pretty fresh compared to what Warrington would be. And it's St. Helens, so they'll just probably
There'll be a lot of
things very easily.
feeling in this game.
Oh, no doubt about that. There always is between these two clubs. Great clubs, I should say.
I honestly thought this would have been the cup final we would have had. Saints against Warrington.
But no.
Castleford had something else to say about that.
Yes. So this one could go down to the absolute wire. Could go down to the final seconds
Warrington
of the match.
have been playing good, but and the break for St. Helens could play against them as well. I think there is a scenario where that could happen. Because they would have been, I don't think they would have been training if there's been positive tests in the.
I don't think they would be, but then who knows?
So I think it's a heavy wait and see. I think this is really a flip of a coin.
It is.
The way Warrington have been playing at the moment versus St. Helens getting an extended breather from their last victory to the next performance.
It's very much a hard one to choose.
Yeah.
Who knows? We might get a draw.
Nah. Golden point extra time would solve that.
Yeah, true. But even if there's no golden...
Oh, well, Warrington have already been there and they've drawn with Hull. Nah, I can't go past Saints. I think the strength of the forward pack that lays that platform of Alex Wormsley, Morgan Knowles, and Louis McCarthy, Scarsbrook laying that platform through the middle, and then you got Tommy Makinson, Regan Grace, Jack Wellesby and Mark Percival sniffing around the back, and Kevin Nagama. That Saints are just a complete package. And I think they'll move back to top of the table. So I'm going to say St. Helens win, and they'll win 13+.
Now, as I hinted just a moment ago, even with golden point and extra time, it's going to be a draw. There you go. My first tip is going to be a draw.
All right. The first draw of the Sideline Chat podcast. Only took about 5 months.
But it's a match that could go either way, even with golden point and all that. It's got to go either way, like I said, a draw.
All right, action on Saturday sees Huddersfield Giants up against the Salford Red Devils at John Smith Stadium in Huddersfield.
Well, we know what Salford have been like all year, and we know what Huddersfield have been like. They've been
what Huddersfield have been as of late.
Well, that's true. So Huddersfield is the better side and got the better momentum than what Salford have.
I definitely think so. The kicking game of Aiden Caesar will definitely outplay that of Tui Lolohea and Chris Atkin. And the forwards that are assembled in the Huddersfield pack, like Greenwood, Gavitt, McQueen, Matty English, very solid option. And of course, led by a talisman like Michael Lawrence, just experienced head.
Yeah.
I can't go past the Huddersfield 13+ win.
Well, yeah. Salford, they're just, I don't know what they're doing this season.
And the other game from the DW Stadium on Saturday morning here will be the Wigan Warriors up against Hull Kingston Rovers, and a bit of a blow for them, as Bevan French has apparently been ruled out for several months due to a shoulder injury.
Ooh, that's got to really hurt Wigan.
Well, what happens is, this will really put pressure on probably the only fit fullback there is, Yamala Hanley, because no doubt Adrian Lamb would like to keep Zach Hardacre in the centres or on the wing, as he has been.
Yes.
And he's probably hoping that Jai Field will be back soon, because he's not been cited since round 1. Yeah, and true. Oliver Gildart will get some game time here as well. That's what he's hoping for Field and Oliver Gildart to come back into the back line
as soon as possible.
As well as Liam Marshall as well, because, I mean, Don Manfredi's future is still up in the air due to all these long-term injuries he's suffered.
Yeah.
I mean, he's there at the moment, but you really have to think the calls have to be made by Adrian Lamb at this point.
I definitely would be. And the rate that the Rovers have been playing lately, and also Wigan had the week an extended break
had the
as well,
break,
so,
like Huddersfield,
as well as St Helens. So, look, the rate that Hull KR have been playing lately, I wouldn't go past them though. But then Wigan are yet like another top side, so who knows?
I think Hull KR are really going to challenge Wigan here, but I think,
especially with the loss of,
they got enough class in that Warriors side. I think 1-12. Wigan come away with this.
Well, especially with the loss of Bevan French, it's going to be a massive out for him. So,
yeah.
I believe that Hull KR will win.
So you're going for an upset here?
Yep, Hull KR win in a 1-12 margin, and I would say go back quickly to the previous game. Huddersfield will win in a 1-12 in the 13+ margin for Huddersfield.
And the one game on Sunday, as it would seem, because the Catalan Dragons Leeds Rhinos clash has been postponed due to more positive cases in the Leeds side. So the only one that's going ahead on Sunday, Eastern Standard Time, the Leeds Centurions up against Hull FC.
Well, the rate Centurions have been playing have been close twice, but the rate that Hull have been playing is a lot better.
I'm afraid it's a no contest. It really is. It's a Hull 13-plus win, and to try and argue otherwise, maybe Lee do pull something out of the hat. But what you'd have to do, you'd have to go up against a Hull side with no Connor, no Josh Reynolds, no Mark Sneed, no Danny Houghton, no Mahe Fanua, no Andre Cervello,
no Adam
Jordan
Swift.
Lane. You'd literally have to have half the whole first team out.
Basically like a B team for Hull FC to beat them.
That would have to be the case. You'd have to have no Swift, no Ofanua, no Tumivave. You'd literally have to take everyone out of the Hull FC side that is a threat, and then you're left with nothing.
Pretty much. But if the league continued on how they had been, they could have been a contest. But then Hull FC probably come out a bit stronger and had that better finish than what Lee would have.
Even with the play, they're still missing a lot of forward depth. I mean, Ben Flower, I think, is still on the sideline for the Leeds Centurions as well.
Maybe when he comes back, he might be that difference. But who knows?
It's hard to say. I mean, they've gone and gotten Brendan Elliott. They've gone and got Nathan Peets. They went ahead and poached a whole lot of players from the Toronto Wolfpack. They tried signing Ben Flower as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it just hasn't come together.
Not as of yet, but there's still time. Although it's quickly running
At
out.
0-9, you can't afford to have time. You've got to start winning, and you've got to start winning now. This is what
time is running out for.
This is promotion and relegation at its worst. You really have to be on the clock.
Yeah.
Salford understand this. I think they only got one win on the chalk or board at the moment, but at least they understand they are in a fight to avoid relegation. And at 9-10 already, their points percentage, that's probably the only thing in Lee's defence, that their points percentage is stronger than that of Salford's, but they do have the worst defence in the league. That is their biggest concern at the moment. You look at St. Helens, you look at the Wigan Warriors, you look at even the Catalan Dragons. Anything below 150, I'll extend that net. So the best 5 defensive sides at the moment, Saints are the best, followed by Wigan, then it's Catalan, and then it's Hull FC. Warrington are just on the outside of the top 4 defensive sides. But Warrington are all, at the same time, Warrington are amongst the best attacking sides as well, having scored more tries than either Saints or Catalan.
So it's really hard to pick.
But they're in a good position at the moment, the top 5 sides. And then, of course, you've got Hull KR on the top 6.
Yeah.
That's not the Leeds Centurions. That's not where they are.
No. They're like down below the Rhinos.
They're low table.
Yeah.
They're bottom of it.
Bottom of it, yes.
And Salford still have that one saving grace. But what happens when Lee finally get the win? Superior points percentage.
Well, Salford really need to pull magic out of the hat, really.
They need
to try and get on a roll, like what Wakefield have.
And they really need to start scoring more points.
Well, that too. Only 4 points last week does not help.
No,
compared to what Lee got, of 30, it's a lot different. Quickly, the last tip overall for the Centurions Hull FC match. I'm going to say Hull FC, but in the 1-12 margin.
So you think Lee are going to offer up a competitive performance?
Yet again, like they did against the last week and the week prior.
Well, you've already heard my tip. I'm going to say that Hull FC win in the 13-plus margin. All right. Well, that is full time from us for both parts of the Sideline Chat podcast. If you liked both parts, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the Sideline Chat podcast so you never miss a week of rugby league action. Hope you enjoy rounds 10 and 15 of both Super League and the NRL. Stay tuned as the origin sides for Game 2 will be announced. Can Queensland bring themselves back from the brink, or will New South Wales force their dead rubber at Stadium Australia in the middle of July? Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. Until then, along with Mark Henry, I'm Connor Marcellus, and you have been listening to the Sideline Chat podcast. Bye for now.
Catch us next week.